Well, I thought we were going, and then
Put yourself
Flays,
in the shoes of the fan,
like,
dog. I'm
I,
surviving off of my kombucha beer here because I got nothing else in my fridge except for ginger
you
beer.
need to, dude. You need little bacteria running around in your stomach right now. All right, but you don't actually need that because we're all pretty hype. Jackson looks like he's popping up a Budweiser.
That's
Seriously,
the beer.
tall
That's the beer
boy
I was talking about.
So
didn't even pop it during the game.
he's got the logo on there
For the
for the
podcast.
Sixers.
True spout.
Do it for the pod and believe in the hype. That's all I have to say. So you can look at the stats all day, but we use the eye test. We watch this together at the same time. Guys, it was an abysmal first half for the Philadelphia 76ers. We had one guy going off for us in Tobias Harris. He was an A-plus across the board the entire game. I still felt we were controlling the game. There was, it was Beal or no Beal, and there was no Beal in the first half. There was no Russ really in the first half. You had some three-point shooting from the Wizards that I thought kept them in the game. You needed guys to step it up from the first half to the second. For the most part, you had some of those guys do that to bring us back in the end of the day. But with that said, did not like the first half from this 76ers team, but thankful that they got back together and they reeled it in, towards the end of the fourth quarter.
I didn't even have a problem with the first half offense so much, just because Toby was putting up enough for us to stay afloat. But I just think the defense was awful in the first half. Really, we were just letting them do whatever you want. We were letting them get hot. We were letting them just take to the rack every time.
I don't even think that was the case. I thought we just
I would disagree.
didn't hit our 3-pointers. I think all other things being equal, we hit.
Yeah, we had 60 points in the first half.
I think the first half,
Yeah,
it was a
it's
bad
best scoring game.
combination of Joel Embiid getting those personal fouls, not being able to play, and then our shooters not hitting the shots. The second half, everything just came together.
Yeah, tail two halves for sure.
Yeah, I think if you look at this, it's first half, okay, what went wrong? Everything for the most part, other than the taking it to the hoop, to the paint, and scoring the 2-pointers, field goal percentage. They came out. One man show Toby. I mean, I kind of liked in the beginning, really the first three transitions. It was JoJo with a pull up jumper. It was Tobias, pulling up, and then also Ben getting his, so 1, 2, 3, 6 points off the gate. It was the, our three-headed monster against, Russ and Beal. But with that said, Cork, Green, Seth, they were nowhere to be found in this first half. And so I think, that was the step it up. I think it was Doc going to those guys and saying, I think he was looking for Cork to be that guy, to be that ninth guy who was kind of shooting those threes and kind of getting us some space between, points. But I don't think, he went 0 for 3 really in the beginning there. Green did nothing. Seth did nothing. These are guys in the regular season that have, Seth, who has, the sixth best 3-point percentage. You got Danny Green, who's got 90 corner threes. That's the most corners threes of anybody in the NBA this season. So I think you're relying on those guys to fill their roles, and I don't think they did coming out of the first half. But with that said, I think they change it up. They come back. They sort of get momentum going, and then, they really fill the roles to be able to bring us back in it.
Yeah, it was how early Doc brought all of those guys in. I mean, aside from Dwight coming in for Embiid because of the foul trouble early, I thought that Cork came in really early, Shake came in pretty early. I was surprised that he had that deep of a bench going that early into the game.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, but honestly, if you look at top to bottom, the bench scored pretty well.
Yeah.
You gotta be happy with it.
Yeah.
The only problem was that when we had a couple of minutes with all 5 bench players on the court, and there was a period of time when we did have that.
Yeah.
And I noticed in the first half immediately, once Shake came in for I think Danny Green, and we already had Dwight Howard on the court. I think Tyrese was on there with Thibault, and I think George Hill. And once Shake came in, it kind of really broke down defensively, and that's when we really saw the seesaw kind of hit it to the bounds of Washington, and they took that lead for the brief stint.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got these they ended the quarters really well. They got hot at the end of the quarters, and I think that's really the only reason why we're going so into this first half, because I think they played, like I said, pretty well. I mean, if you score 61 points in the first half, you can't be mad at that. And if we actually did have Seth draining threes he was in the second half, I think it would have been an absolute blowout.
And arguably, do you guys think that the lack of shooting in the first half was maybe due to Embiid being out and not providing spacing for everybody? Because usually, we saw on that one play, he had 3 people on him and he still scored. He's usually pulling the defenders away from the shooters, and then they have more space to shoot. Maybe they weren't getting their shots.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge part of it.
That's a big part of their scheme, right? I mean, with Embiid coming in, and sorry to cut you off, Flay, but coming in going out early, 3 personals. I think the refereeing of this game was kind of rough to begin with. I mean, it's
Brutal.
the NBA playoffs.
Brutal.
You got to let these guys play like they're going up in the corner end zone, going up for a catch up, a ball in the end zone. I mean, let them play the game. Don't throw the flags. Don't throw the technicals, the fouls. Make it more like street ball if you have to. But you got to get Embiid in there, especially from the NBA trying to make this a good product for people. They want an MVP prospect to be in the game, for the majority of the game.
They usually do let them play more too in the playoffs. So I don't know what the hell was going on today. The announcers were ripping into the refs. It was actually hilarious to listen to.
You gotta love Zoom off going off.
It.
When he gets mad, there's probably a problem.
I caught the TNT broadcast for the most part. I didn't have the
oh yeah, we had the
sports broadcast.
Yeah, we had the Philly one.
I think it was what it was with the refs. We still ended up with more free throws than the Wizards did.
True.
We just had a couple questionable calls.
Which, speaking of that, we actually didn't take very good advantage of that. We only shot 70% from the free throw line. Simmons obviously going over 6. Man, he's got to hit. He's got to hit some of those. I mean, that's just
Yeah, I mean that's like fundamentals of basketball. I mean, that's not Ben Simmons' role, where it's all right, he's going to hit free throw shots, and obviously he's the target for teams to go and foul at the end of games just because he's not going to make the shots. But at the same time, Ben, that's the difference of winning the game, being up 8 points versus being up, 5 points at the end of the game. You got to make those shots, man.
And it's
just plain and simple.
That this season in particular, we've all noted how he's been an improved free throw shooter, and then having this kind of outing on the first game of the playoffs is not a good start. But all other things said about Ben, pretty positive.
No, he played really good.
All things considered.
I was very positive on Ben. I thought, especially in the first half, Tobias was out there, he was getting his points, but I thought that Ben was running the court. Whenever Ben was on the court, we were going, and we were going at his pace.
It was noticeably better.
The free throws are my only critique. Other than that, he had an amazing game. I mean,
some
of those passes he threaded in were really, there's only a few players in the league who are capable of doing those things.
Yeah, if I got one word for Ben, I mean, it's vision. The way that he found that pass to George Hill, I mean, he was just slinging it to guys today. So, the whole time, I think Jackson said it best too. He just, he kept the momentum up, and if he was in the game, there's probably going to be defensive stops. He's going to double team Beal, kind of shut him down, along with Danny Green. A lot of good defense coming from those guys. Going back to what Britt said, I think in the first half, offensively, great game, because if you're scoring 60 points in the first half, that's amazing. But at the same time, the Wizards also put up, I think, 62 going into the half.
Down by 1.
So you just can't. So a lack of defense, and I think probably a lack of the threes. So I think just saying that we're only down by 1 in 60 points with no threes, being dropped, I think that just goes to show how good we can be, in the close range shots for the Sixers.
And just to show how important Ben is, I think in the third quarter, Embiid was in, and we were kind of doing okay. We were struggling a little bit, and then Ben came in, and we just popped off on that run where we scored 3 threes in a row. Everybody was hitting them.
I was just about to bring that up too. It was noticeable when he came back in.
Yep. No, I say
that behind the back, or that behind the backboard put back dunk that he had.
Dude, that was
literally putting back the shots on
Embiid's shots. That one was definitely one that gets the crowd in.
Yeah, that one was all over Twitter.
Yeah.
And I think we think about the pandemic, and we're like, how big can the crowd be in these games? And I think it was huge. Especially once you get that momentum swing. I know Brits was joking in the chat saying like if Ben makes a quarter-ending three, you know that city's going wild.
Well,
That
Fargo
was
Center's
crazy.
popping off the
Dude, that
lid
was
of that
great.
place.
Something's crazy's gonna happen.
I was hoping that went in like so bad.
And the way we talk about it, though, I think it's like we criticize Ben for only having 6 points, but if you look at it, the amount of assists he has, even if every one of those was a 2, which it wasn't, he'd still be
it turns into
responsible for
30
36 points.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why I think my criticism is very light. Just the free throw thing.
Well,
Go ahead, Brits.
I'm not even like I wasn't even that upset about the free throws, except for those ones at the end when they were really crucial. Like,
Where it really matters.
yeah, like those, you got to make at
you
least
see-
one of those.
You see yesterday with the game with the Bucks and the Heat how important late game free throws are.
Yeah.
The Bucks were able to hold on to it, but Giannis really kept the Heat in that game late because he wasn't able to be clutch on the line.
Yeah.
We definitely got a couple of answers that we had from last week, this week with the game. Caputi, I remember you asking, can we count on Tobias to even get us 20 points?
Yeah.
He had 20 points in the first half.
Hell yeah, we can
So
today.
20 points. My question was answered pretty damn quick. I mean, we talked about that last week. Is he going to be above the 20 or below? He doubled that pretty easily, without question. So like, that's what I want to see. This is how the Sixers look different this year compared to all previous years. Joel's not in the game. He's not getting the minutes. He's got 3 personals. Who comes in and does it? It's Tobias. If it's not, if it's not Tobias, it should probably then be Ben to pick up the slack, but he doesn't have to because he's dishing out those assists to the shooters. The only thing I do worry about is if Tobias isn't putting up the numbers and we're not shooting, how do we keep up? But I think we'll be fine the rest of the series.
He's popping off.
You hope Embiid stays in the game. You have these different options, and so that's what makes a playoff team versus, Russ isn't even doing anything in this game. I mean, Beal went off. Beal wasn't doing anything in the first half. He had to do all the work in the second half. Russ took that, third 3-pointer towards the end of the game. You felt pretty comfortable with him putting that up. You just didn't want Beal putting that up.
I wouldn't say that Russ did nothing this game though.
He didn't do nothing, but I mean, if he's coming out of the game with 16 points, that's pretty damn good
assists.
for Russell.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the name of his game, obviously. He does
the
Mr.
same thing
Triple-Double.
Ben does, but also scores.
but at the same time, you're watching him, and you don't see him
Westbrook.
being much of a game changer, other than dishing it out every possible way, I guess.
The funny thing with him is that when Embiid's on the court, he plays so much differently than when Embiid's off the court. It's
They
so
hate
much
each other.
noticeable. Westbrook in my mind is I can't stand the guy. I think that he likes to gloat when he makes the easy plays. Today in particular, I noticed like he likes to do his celebrations when he either gets past someone who's like off on their back foot or get an easy layup or something. But when he's going up against Embiid in the lane, he did not want to have any piece of putting that up. He just dribbled out almost every single time.
Even Ben, dude, I don't think he. Looking at their size and standing next to each other, I don't think
they
he.
all switched on them very well.
Thibault?
Today. The defense overall, we were pretty interchangeable amongst the 4 of our primary defenders outside of Embiid. Ben, Matisse, Toby.
Right.
Dude, there was like a 5 or 6 series stretch where Thibault had the clamps on Beal.
It was insane.
He could not
He
move.
loved the clamps, man. He loved
Beal
using
finally
that.
breaks through and he starts to celebrate. Calm down, buddy.
Yeah, there was one play where he got through, got around and
Yeah.
put it up. But dude, I think he stole the ball twice in 5 series. Off of
Brits, Thibault was in for 13 minutes. He got 2 blocks, 2 steals.
That's crazy. That's an
So
insane.
literally
that's
changed the momentum of the game. And that's exactly all you can ask for, all you want from him. I mean, I don't know. Yeah,
He's a third quarter beast.
This is why I think the Wizards aren't winners. I mean, you have Beal kind of showing off, smiling at the cameras, flopping and kind of playing around. Dude, your team's losing. This is
And
the
then
playoffs. Do you
Westbrook
know
is
what
just
team you're
obsessed-
going against?
Yeah, Westbrook's just
Come on.
obsessed with getting his stats as high as possible.
Yeah, and just padding the stats. So, yeah, no, great game. If anything, first half it was all right, things didn't, everything didn't go right. But I walk away from this game being very confident in the series. I just don't think the Wizards are winners. I don't think they have any 3-point shooting other than, Beal, Barton's. Barton's is the man. I mean, and he's one of the best.
Bertans, you lunatic.
Bertans? What is it? Barton's?
Bertans.
Bertans? Whatever. He's one of the best in the catch and go. I know Zumoff was saying that. So I don't have any other faith in so I guess some of the other guys. I mean, Neto,
Where-
Raul, Gafford, Smith. Those were guys that were.
Ish Smith had our number for a good portion of the game.
He did. These
Gafford
were guys
played-
that shouldn't have done
Gafford played
anything
pretty
and
well,
picked
too.
it up. So
Gafford-
I like the the play by them too. Yeah.
Alex Len had a period in the beginning when Embiid was getting fouled a lot, or was doing a lot of fouling himself, where he was kind of popping off.
Yeah.
But towards the end of the game, he was really stinking. I think he only played 16 minutes.
But he
Well,
stayed at 12
and
points
I
throughout
don't
the
think-
entire game.
Yeah.
Unlike Tobias Harris, I think no one on the Wizards put together a full game performance.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't really
Yeah.
say that about anyone on the Sixers either, except for Tobias Harris. I feel like.
Well, I mean,
I would
well,
agree.
I guess full game, but like, I mean, Embiid still had 30 points, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Embiid still does
with the
Embiid
minimum
thing.
with the minimum time he played in the first half, like having 30
yeah,
points.
I
is
mean, I'm
crazy.
looking at his stats now. He's at a plus 20 on 3 assists.
Yeah.
Also,
six
with
rebounds.
Len, I once he had that air ball on the foul shot, I kind of just
Dude, he gave us
laughed.
Wendy's free for
I
all.
just kind of laughed him off. So he gave us all a treat, and then he didn't do anything the rest of the
Dwight
game.
Howard was
So.
pumped about that.
Oh, yeah. He's
I
getting
didn't. I
after
didn't
the game.
actually know that.
But-
Jackson told me that earlier. The Wendy's thing.
Yeah, that's why you always hear him booing so loud as you get to the second shot.
I mean, dude, the Sixers are far away better than the Wizards, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
I
not a
agree.
competition. But like, I mean, this game looked tight for a little bit, but I think that's just because Embiid was in foul trouble.
I do think though that they could take one from us. I think we're underestimating Beal and Westbrook.
Yeah.
And I think if Bertans
Yeah.
pops off one game and they maybe put Gafford in for Alex Len to start, they could have a chance of taking one from us. I think overall through 5, it's not going past 5 games.
No, that's
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying.
still
Like,
stay strong on my 5-game prediction.
there's not that many sweeps in the NBA anyway. Like,
Yeah, I'll stay at the 5. So let's do that then. Let's get everybody's opinion. I'll stay at the 5. 4-1 series for them. I think they'll take one for us. Again, yeah, I think with Beal just popping off, I think he's bound to have one of those games. They're going to learn from their mistakes. So I think, taking out Len and putting in Gafford, I think that's the way you go to get a little bit more defense to prepare for Embiid. But let's be honest, there's nothing stopping the Sixers on the Wizards. So,
No.
Yeah,
it's an easy 4-1 for me.
Yeah.
Honestly-
An 8-point victory with almost terrible 3-point shooting. So.
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna stick with Sixers in 5. I think maybe they'll lose their first away game or something, like the third
Yeah.
game 3. But them putting up 118 points and us still winning, I don't think they're gonna put up 118 points again this series.
Honestly, I just said that they could take a game or 2 from us, but I do think ultimately I'm still going to predict 4-0 from the Sixers.
Okay.
Okay, so he's going with a sweep, yet he
Jackson
also
doesn't
thinks
know
they're
what-
going to lose
Jackson
one.
doesn't know what he thinks.
So he's a little indifferent. But okay, so I think there's a little piece of that we're also shaking off the rust. You got to remember that the Wizards have been playing, the
haven't
past
played
week. We haven't played
Yeah,
for
it's
that
our
week,
first game of the
so
week.
that's something to think about.
And also
So-
for the starters, they didn't play on Sunday when I was
Also,
there,
I
so
want to point out
over a week.
another thing that we had a question about last week, and we got our answer to, because we were saying that we were going to cut down the roster to 8, maybe 9 players. Who are they going to be? Flay said maybe we'd go 10. We'd toss in Maxey as a spark plug. We did toss in Maxey as a spark plug, and we went 11 deep.
Yeah, we
Oh,
played
yeah.
11 guys,
And
right?
it seemed
Yeah, 11 deep.
Yeah.
seems like we didn't even hesitate to just do our regular season rotation too. By 6 minutes into the first quarter, we already had
Right.
2 subs.
Doc
Yeah.
pretty much was like, all right, we'll just take the exact same lineup that we used in the regular season, cut Mike Scott, and just roll with it.
Well, so I saw
Yeah.
a tweet earlier this morning. I forget who, and we can credit that person when I figure it out. But basically said Doc Rivers sat down with each player today and told them specifically, why they're important, what their role is within this team for this
Yeah.
run. So it sounds like he, as a coach, spelled it out to each guy individually, and I'm sure all the players appreciate that, even if they were told, you're going to have a limited role. But yeah, dude, I was
like
really
that.
hyped to see Maxey
Yeah.
come in the as early as the second quarter to
Mhm.
get a little bit of a spark going. And he, again, he didn't have many minutes and he only scored at 3 points, but he showed like he was confident on there. He was taking
Getting
it to
and
the
one,
bucket
right?
and it didn't.
So yeah,
Did-
he got that N1, and I think Flay, what you said about Doc, I think could be a similar comparison to Sirianni. We'll get to that later, but yeah, I think when you know what you're doing, when it's clear, And don't shake your head, Brits. I'll get to it. I think we're bored in the Sirianni train, so I think we want to lift him up a little bit.
Chugga chugga.
Get your tickets because here comes Sirianni. But no. At the end of the day, I think when you know what your role is, you know what you need to do. It's a lot easier than when you're moving around. It's a lot of moving parts, and you're not Al Horford, who needs to be a power forward, and then also Joel Embiid's backup. So when it's too confusing to be what you are, it just doesn't work. But we'll get into why this year is different because of Doc as well. But
one thing that I
especially
also
for guys like Maxey, sorry Jackson, just like especially for the young guys and for the inexperienced guys, like that's super vital for them to like have that kind of one-on-one time with the coach and just get those words,
Right.
One thing that I also read about Doc going to each player and telling them their role was that he did it in a group setting. He went to everybody in front of everybody else and told them that, so that he knew that they weren't like just getting told what they wanted to hear. Everybody knew exactly what was going down.
Yeah,
I like that. I like
that a lot.
And it wasn't
know
any
your
type
role.
of like there wasn't any type of dirt being thrown. It was a very straightforward X's and O's type of talk,
Yeah.
Right. No, and you like to see that accountability coming from Doc. So actually, no, I want to bring up another question. Now that we're getting some answers, what other than a win, because I think we all predict a wins out of this series to get us to the next round. What do you guys want from this series? Like, what do you want to learn? Like, I think like I want to know, do we definitely not put Cork in? And is it Hill, Shake, Howard, Maxey? Is Maxey that spark plug that we use as a replacement for Cork? I think we need to know that answer. But like I said, I think we still keep our regular season rotation for this series. But I think it might have to start changing as we play more competitive teams later.
As we get later, it's definitely going to shrink.
I'm not sure why you're so sure that Cork is going to be out. I think Cork may have just had a bad game today, and he'll be back in next game.
I think so too. And
it's possible.
Again, I think that's part of we're going to see the regular rotation probably play out the rest of the series, definitely. And then maybe in the next round we might shrink and, one or two guys might start to lose some playing time as we get a little farther along here. I think that we're seeing Embiid play only 30 minutes is really the Sixers still keeping their foot off the gas pedal with him and really keeping it till the very end when they definitely need him,
Yeah.
The way our bench is designed, I think Doc's just really going to go with the hot hand that day. He can play we go so deep, we go 11 deep, and we'll just go with the 8 or 9 that are really on fire that day.
So if Cork goes, so I agree. I think anybody can have a bad game, one bad game. If Cork has 4 or 5 straight bad games, because this is like a learning round for us, what do you do in the next round, Jackson? Do you continue to have faith in him in those later rounds, or do you give somebody else a chance if they prove themselves?
I mean, if he's really sucking that bad, I just don't imagine that would happen. I think maybe you'd give him like 1 or 2 minutes or like 3 minutes, let him get a couple shots. If he gets rolling, he gets rolling. But I mean, if somebody else takes over, I don't see Doc going against that.
It's also not going to be him being like replaced with anyone who's not already playing. It's just going to be someone else eating up his minutes. You're not going to see like Paul Reed or Isaiah Joe come in and try to.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see those guys come in at all. No. I don't think we should.
It would either be like an absolute blowout, and even then,
Cork would have to get hurt, maybe.
Yeah.
But again, I think what you want is a little bit of a couple blowout games so that you can get to the point where like, all right, I'll throw in Cork, I'll let some of those guys play just to get in a rhythm for the next games. If we need to ride the hot hand. I think we need to. So with that said, I think some player grades for this first game. I could start with the starters. So Embiid, Toby, I give a B+ just because of the lack of minutes that he played because of the personal fouls. I don't think it was anything that he did that takes him away from an A+. So in my mind, it's an A+ play. He just wasn't in the game. Toby, I'm going A+ across the board. He was the most consistent. He lifted up this team and carried us through when others didn't. Ben, an A, strictly because of the defense, the 15 rebounds, also the 15 assists, as Jackson said, leading to a total of 36 points.
More than that, some of them were 3s.
Yeah.
Well, right. Assuming that, those were all 2s. Seth, it's kind of like I kind of graded as a first to second half. I think he went from an F all the way to a B once he started to hit those shots. Green, I'm in the FD range to a CB range, like just with the defense that he had across the board, and then also the shooting towards the
So
end.
basically anything except for an A.
Just not an A at that point, but he definitely got better throughout the course of the game and stepped it up. So
I think that Toby had like an A+ game. That's like an outlier for him. He
Yeah.
absolutely killed it today. I think Embiid, like a solid B+. He got into foul trouble early. He doesn't usually do that. But he came back.
Not
He
gonna
bounced
happen
back in a
normally.
big way. Simmons on fire, absolutely controlling the game. I'll give him a B+. He just wasn't scoring as much as he probably could. I think that Seth and Danny, it's sort of tough to grade them. I'll even lump in George Hill with them. They're shooters, and they just have off nights, and you just hope one of them's on that night. Unfortunately, nobody was in the first half, but the second half, we were absolutely popping off. So I'd give them all like a C, B- maybe.
Mhm.
Thibault came in, big minutes, big defense. I think you got to give him a B+. I think the whole team all around, we had like a B+ game. I think this might have been the closest game of the series. And I think that
Yeah.
maybe the Wizards did themselves a disservice by getting him beat out early in the game. He was rested at the end, and he just absolutely was able to
He
dominate.
went off.
It looked like he was like, it looked like they were tired, and he just had like that second steam.
I mean, that's what happens when a guy who, even in the regular season, is playing, 36 minutes, is now playing 30 minutes. He's just,
Yeah.
Yeah. That rest goes a long way.
I mean, I think Jackson pretty much hit the nail on the head there with those grades. I think with George Hill and Seth and Danny Green, I'd probably actually bump them up to like a B. I actually think they played really well.
I think, yeah.
In the second half, and like obviously that's when it matters most. Yeah, like they weren't hitting shots in the first half, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, if it's really telling when you miss that many like 3-pointers. I think we're like 3 for 18 or something, and then you come back in the second half and you don't let it get to you, and you actually play really well in the second half.
When they needed to make a run, they made the run.
Yeah, and I think they played pretty well. I think I'd give all our shooters about a B this game. Tobias A++. Like, it was unbelievable to watch that. I thought he was going to drop 50 at one point.
Yeah.
Joel, I'm not even gonna. I'm still gonna give him an A because I think the refs were not doing him any favors on some of those fouls. And then Ben B+ only because of the free throws, and then yeah. So I mean, the team played amazing today, I think.
What did you guys think of Dwight?
Yeah, I think he was just average, just because he wasn't. I guess he wasn't in there towards the end
He
too.
was doing his job.
I think you talk about Doc going to everybody and telling them what the role is. I think he did that. I think he fulfilled his role, but I don't think he went above or beyond. I don't think he necessarily played bad.
He held it down. He kept us in the game. He just didn't do anything special.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing. He played his role. Like, he did his part.
Yeah. He has a very specific job. Like, it's like kind of just like get Embiid, don't mess up, get Embiid his rest.
The defense, I want to point out towards the end of the fourth quarter, there was a stretch of like 3 or 4 minutes where I think the Wizards didn't even score, and it was like the last 5 minutes basically.
It's crazy they scored that much, honestly, because of how good we were defensively. Like, it
that
looks
just
like.
goes to show how good of a player Beal is, and even Westbrook, to the extent of getting the ball to other people. But yeah, I mean, we had 10 team steals, 10 team blocks. Yeah, that just a lot of that came in the very end of the game in a lot of clutch moments.
Yeah.
I give Toby an A+. I mean, if we're talking tiers, he's going S tier, man.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
He really went to he went Super Saiyan this game.
Damn straight.
Danny Green, I give him a B. I think he actually, despite not scoring too much in the first half, I think he played really solid defense when he had to, when he was asked, because he had to play a little bit on both Westbrook and Beal from time to time. And he did what you needed him to do. He shot 75 from 3, 75% from 3, 11 points overall. He did have 5 turnovers, which you would hope that he wants to, he would have cracked down on that, especially with him being one of the vets on the team.
Yeah, it was a couple messy plays in the first quarter.
Yeah. But overall, I think that he played the role that you need him to play as the number 4 guy on this team. Embiid, I'm going with an A. I think that the fact that he only played 30 minutes and the fact that he was in foul trouble was honestly like out of his hands.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, I think that he had a really good game on both sides of the court. He did
Yeah.
exactly what we're asking for him to do. Had he played 38 minutes, which is what Ben played, I think we're probably talking even bigger numbers. Especially he got taken out so early in the first.
I think to
Yep.
add on to your Danny Green point, Danny Green went 3 from 4 from 3, and I think he's notoriously either hot or cold in the playoffs when it comes to shooting. And it's looking like he's going to be hot this year.
If this is the Danny Green we get on a consistent basis, I can vibe it, dude.
That's good news then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you like to see a Danny Green, a playoff
But,
Danny Green
so
too.
I think that
Just having the
seeing-
experience.
Sorry, Booty.
Go ahead.
I think seeing Danny Green score 11 points, you might want him to score a little bit more, especially on nights when Simmons is scoring lower amounts. You want Danny Green to be on the receiving end of more of those assists. Speaking of Simmons, I initially was going to give him a C because I was kind of harping on the free throws a little bit, but he actually had a really good defensive game. He kept Westbrook at bay, and when he had to switch on Beal, he was doing good.
I liked what I saw out of Ben
Yeah.
today.
Yeah,
Ben, I think had an amazing game.
some of those
I think
passes were
I
ridiculous.
think he can be a
again.
second string quarterback in the NFL with some of those passes.
Even there were points where he missed it. I remember early in the first quarter or the first half, he got the ball near the baseline, and Beal was right there, and he was like, "Give it to me, I want it," and he was really going at him, and I like that tenacity.
I like the energy all around from these
all
guys.
of the guys,
Yeah.
I mean, when you saw it late in the third quarter there, I think it was when the ball was stripped loose from the Wizards. Pretty much all 4 of our guys were diving on the ground.
Yeah.
We were all over the floor tonight.
The T-bone steak.
And that's like Brett Brown mentality. That's like process error mentality. Still driving through the veins of these guys. They've never seen themselves as a team that deserves the number 1 seed. They know that they had to do stuff like that all the way from the beginning of the process to get to where they are now.
Right. No longer underdogs, boys. Just hungry dogs. So they're fighting for that T-bone steak on the court. Wherever that ball's going, they're all over it. So general feeling I think that we're all getting is, I think trust the process, right? I think we finally got that piece in Doc Rivers to tie this whole elaborate plan together to take us to the finish line. That's my feeling on it. We should get there.
After this game, we should all be very happy, but let's not go too far. It's
Fritz,
only
don't
game
you
1.
dare bring
But
a
don't
rain
sell them
cloud into
short.
this
Do
podcast.
not sell them short.
Let's not say that we're going to the finals. We're going to win it all just after game 1 of the first series.
How
And
about
don't
we
sell Daryl Morey short for being able to construct the roster out of what we had last year.
What we designed. So let's make it controversial and let's talk about it. Let's start a podcast just to talk about it to our with our fans in our community. So why this year compared to last year, right? So different, and not just the pandemic year. Let's not count it that way, but I guess you could say the Brett Brown era versus now Doc. Just what the doctor ordered.
The Jimmy Butler playoff run.
What were you guys saying before we brought Doc on? Were you saying give Brett Brown another year? Were you saying move on? Because I was quick to say let's go to the next guy. I want somebody.
Brett Brown had his opportunity, and
I think
even though the roster last year was severely flawed, there was no spacing. I think it was just time to move on.
Yeah, he had his
Brett
2019
Brown
was his shot.
would have made a great assistant coach right now under a guy like Doc.
I agree.
Which obviously is not something that would ever happen. But he hit his ceiling with the squad, no matter what. Even if we had this year's roster, Brett Brown does things that just are not viable for a championship team.
And even at Brett Brown's peak with the roster with Jimmy Butler, you could just tell the half-court offense, it was just stagnant. You'd get to the half-court and you'd just be stuck. They'd just be passing it around the arc, and nobody would be taking it in.
It's so frustrating, dude. And then it would just be like, you would wait until 4 seconds left on the shot clock for someone to basically have to be forced on a one-on-one.
And when that happens for the whole end of the fourth quarter, you just feel hopeless.
It killed me watching. Just no rhythm, no just basically no spacing, no nothing. You couldn't see any play developing in his offense. It would just go down, shot clock, somebody throw it up at the end because nothing would open up. Basically,
if it wasn't a JJ Joel picking 3,
little dribble handoff.
It looked like that was the only play they had going for him. Honestly,
I do not miss listening to everybody complain about the shot clock, going down to 5 every time we touch the ball.
Yeah.
I used to hear that, so much of that on the radio.
So
And now
let's.
this year, it's like spacing's open. We're running plays.
It's
The
all we're
offense is
getting.
fluid. The defense is even better somehow. It's just
Yeah.
night and day.
So would you credit Doc for what Joel is this year?
Well, yeah. I mean, people like to say he improved over the offseason, which he obviously did. But the
Right.
offseason was only like a month or two long, so he couldn't have improved that much. I think that really just the construction of the team opened up spacing for him to be able to work better. And I think he's just in a much better system that, lets him shine more than he was able to before.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the system that he's in now. I mean, Duell was popping off last year in the playoffs, even though we got swept, right?
Yeah,
We
he's
got
never been
swept
bad.
by the
He was going
Celtics.
off last
No.
year every
And
game.
that's kind of my feeling on Embiid is he always had the potential to be MVP caliber level, but I think Doc unlocked that. I
Yeah.
think he just kind
I
of made
agree.
him get to that point where he can
And
be.
and Daryl for being able to trade Horford
To make
for
the right moves. I mean,
he got Danny Green, he got
It's huge.
Seth, he got George Hill. Like all those players are making it so much easier for us on offense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think overall, I think three key things are different from this year from any other previous run.
Let's hear
I
it.
know we talked about this at length. One is obviously Doc and his coaching style, his ability to adjust, and his ability to play the X's and O's so much better than Brett Brown. It's just noticeable from both the way that you see individual players play, like the way Tobias has just been on fire this season, just the whole way that the team runs plays. The one specific one I saw when George Hill made a backdoor cut when the Joel got double teamed and he found him, right away for an easy layup. Stuff like that was so hard to come by last year with Brett Brown, and this year, that's just the norm. Number two is definitely having those vets on. Jackson, you mentioned Danny Green, Dwight Howard, equally like having those two guys in particular coming from a championship roster already. Danny Green on 2 championship rosters in a row. That's just you can't really talk about how important that type of like locker room presence is.
Well, even Danny Green, he'll come in and he'll criticize Ben openly, which is something that almost seemed like it wasn't
It was
existed
never there
in Brett
before.
Brown's offense. There was no
Right.
accountability.
Yeah, Brett Brown was a little bit too much of like he wanted to be your friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We heard a lot of
Whereas,
that.
especially with like
Which,
just
yeah.
what we were talking about earlier with Doc talking to all the players. Just the type of respect that he commands from his playing days too is probably just a whole different element.
Right. And we say accountability and all these things and like just no confusion. Like what you go out to do. And I think it's like being realistic too. Like Ben, you're not the guy who's going out and getting 1 million points, like shooting the threes. So let's accept that you're not that and just say, let's play into your strengths and do what you need to do to get, if you're not scoring the ball, get the 15 assists. Cause I'd rather have the 15 assists than, 5 assists and 10 points instead of 6. So,
And you look at the offseason moves, like comparatively between the 2 years. Like the year before, Elton Brand saw our team, and he got rid of Jimmy Butler for Josh Richardson, which is like a downgrade, and then he signs Al Horford to this huge contract, which we already have Embiid, and we need spacing. There's no reason to get Horford or pay him that much money. Didn't make any sense. The moves he was making.
That's pretty crazy.
I have 2 things. One, what Caputi was saying about the Ben Simmons being a different, like trying to not be somebody he's not, with Doc's telling him just like just play your strengths. I questioned that at the start of the season. I was like, I think we do need him to shoot more, or whatever. But clearly I was wrong because the team is way better with the way Ben's playing now. And then 2, me and Jackson were talking, like I guess going back to the previous years. Me and Jackson were talking earlier about the Jimmy Butler playoff run and like how good our team actually was that year. And I think the reason why we didn't go to the next level was the coaching, and I think our team is just as good, if not better, this year. And I think we have a really good chance with the coaching we have now.
Yeah, no, I think
agree with you, Brett.
Yeah, I think Brett was really good with young players. I think he was exciting, like he could motivate you, like and just be your friend and like get you hype about a game. But I don't think he had the accountability, and I don't think, he probably did this kind of what Jackson alluded to earlier. He sat you down and separately, like one-on-one, and told you what you wanted to hear to make you feel good. But then, you didn't really improve because he didn't give you the tools that you needed to succeed and kind of like get better. Like basically be honest with you and say like, here's where you're doing wrong, so that you can kind of take the next step and improve upon your mistakes.
A good example of just the thing that Brett did was he used to make everybody research random topics and give like presentations to everybody at lunch that didn't have to do with basketball. It's just like pointless
Like
stuff.
a
Doesn't make
weird
any.
team
Why would you
building
do that?
exercise, Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
just work on basketball.
Well,
just
yeah,
wanna
I mean,
follow up
focus
with
on the
my
things
third
that are
point.
Focus on
value
developing
added.
the offense.
Hey, Brett,
Yeah.
we're playing basketball here, bud.
I just want to say,
Hey,
I
hey,
just
hey,
want
hey,
to
Brett.
I just want to get my last point across with the reason that we're gonna
Yes.
have a chance of winning this year or the
Yeah.
other years is Embiid's maturity is one part of it. I mean, it was a short off season, but I mean he just looks like a man on a mission, much more so than he has in previous years. I feel like he's kind of turned. He's still exciting on the court in a sense where he still celebrates when he makes big plays, but he's taking it just much more seriously from a mental standpoint. And I think the way he's taking care of his body this year. And then I think that all of the young players, Matisse, Ferk, Maxey, not really applicable, but still just kind of like steps in development from some of our younger guys to take that next leap to become, a more consistent 3-point shooter for Ferk, for Matisse. I keep wanting to say Maxey. For Matisse, it's just stepping up and becoming an all-NBA defender effectively.
Yeah, dude.
I was gonna say, I mean, the bench is super helpful this year that we have like such a strong bench.
You love your team when you don't want to get rid of a single player, like off your bench. Like I obviously like we could do without the Isaiah Joes and live another day.
Well,
but
no, we want Isaiah Joe because he's a good shooter and he could develop. We don't need
he's
Mike
super
Scott.
Mike Scott.
guys like Mike Scott. So correction on that.
Put some
But-
respect
yeah,
on
we
the
have
regional
10
manager's
players.
name.
10 or more
Yeah.
players that we really like on this team. You know,
And that's really my point. I mean, once you get to
You
the
don't
lower
see that.
tier,
you don't
Yeah,
see that a lot in the NBA.
And additionally, our bench is
can't
not
keep it
only
around
good;
forever.
it's young.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's room for improvement. So
Exactly.
this year is, I think we have enough to take it this year. But on top of that, I think we have enough to, go a couple more years, back to back, where we're a big threat to contend for the title every year.
and that's what you want. This is what the process was meant to do: take those assets and turn into something that could live for a long time. In Embiid and Ben and guys like Tobias carrying the flag forward, and just the other supplemental guys that are going to do it and help you get there in the bench. So
So the amount of process hate after the playoffs
It's,
last year was
Even interestingly, people at the time of the trade when we traded Josh Richardson for Seth, they said it was like an even trade or maybe that the Mavericks won the trade. And then you look at the two games that
and
happened,
you look at the difference.
and Josh
Yeah.
Richardson played for like 13 minutes. I think he scored 7 points. He went like 0 for 1, I think, on 3. And then Seth Curry's popping off. Like, even if he had a bad first half, he still ended up with 15 points, and he played a lot of minutes. He made some defensive stops. That was an absolute win for the team.
And it's not like you're grading the guys against each other. And you're like, I don't like. It's easy comparison. Like Seth just like gave you more in the game that actually led you to a win, and Josh Richardson gave you nothing. So it's like not even a comparison. I was gonna play kind of similar to you, do a 1, 2, 3 of like what's different from last year to this year. All of you guys hit on everything I wanted to say. So accountability, clear expectations. Only thing I would add to it is that the players are saying these things too. It's not just outside people looking in. Guys like Thibault, new younger players who are saying it. Also the older players. Everybody's buying into the culture. It's a completely different culture. Thibault has said, it's a really close knit group. And Doc's been having those uncomfortable conversations, and I think you have to have those conversations in order to progress to the next level. Not just say that everything's perfect and just keep doing what you're doing, because we know it's there's no ideal world where everything is perfect. So, just glad to have Doc in here.
Got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet.
I think it's debatable 2 or 3 on what needs to make an omelet, but
it's 3.
I think I would guess 3. Go big or go home.
Seriously, and more toppings than egg material.
Well, you gotta have the basis. You gotta have the
you're like a peppers kind of guy. You throw some peppers on there.
You throw
Western.
some ham.
Oh,
some
hell yeah.
bacon, some tomatoes,
Get some peppers in there.
Some broccoli, onions. Yeah, you get
Broccoli?
that
No
thing.
mushrooms?
Yeah, thick, dude. Mushrooms. You can throw mushrooms. I'm not a fan of mushrooms. Really, but you can throw
I think you
mushrooms.
could do without. I think you could do without broccoli. I think that's
I don't
another
like
level.
mushrooms.
But I think like as far as standard, you got to go peppers, maybe onions.
I love how we just dove right into an omelet conversation.
Gotta have a cheese.
I could skip the
Cheese
peppers
in there.
for tomatoes.
Yeah.
As long as tomatoes are in there, I'm good. But yeah, let's keep.
we don't have to keep everything on topic, boys. We
No,
can tell
but
a little bit.
That was a
the
necessary
fans.
topic. That was necessary. We had to
I
talk
think
about
it was good clarification between the 2-3 egg.
I'm sure everyone
addition.
has an opinion on omelets. So
that. Yeah. Leave your
All
omelet predictions in the
right.
comments.
All right, yeah, drop your omelet predictions. But all right, so maybe not necessarily series predictions on the West Coast or even the other teams in the East, but we gave our predictions on the Sixers and the Wizards. So everybody listening, tuning in right now, drop them in the comments. We want to know. Get your thoughts on that, and also get your thoughts on the first game. So, do you line up with kind of the way we're thinking on this, or do you think that we're completely off base? I think we're all in the same boat on this one. So good Sixers win. Walk away looking pretty confident in the rest of the series.
I want someone to come in the comments and just tell us we're all idiots and we're all wrong.
and then we'll have you as a guest spotlight coming in on the next episode.
Chris, I'll
to
do
prove
that
us
to
wrong.
you for nothing.
Okay, well,
I'll do that for free.
what the hell?
Yeah,
man?
you don't need to pay me for that.
Good looks for the Sixers right now. When we're coming to the NBA Finals, the Suns are currently beating the Lakers, so the Lakers could potentially lose the series.
And the Clippers lost too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the Lakers take the first game of that, right? So that's probably going to be a back and forth series.
Actually, I think the Clippers are playing right now.
The Lakers aren't going to take the first game. They're losing right now. There's
No,
two-
the Lakers
No,
are playing
they-
the Suns right now. The Clippers played last night, Brits.
Wait, so the Lakers Suns play their first game yet or no? Somebody
They're
correct
playing-
me.
they're in the
playing
middle
right
of
now,
their
yeah.
That's
first
their
game right
first
now.
game? Okay.
There's 2 minutes left, and they're down 10. Suns are up.
I just want to point out, Flay told me wrong earlier. He said Lakers Suns 1-0 right now. Just messing with you, Flay. So
I
it's
saw that the Knicks
Mavs.
played first.
It's-
before the Lakers did.
It's Mavs, Clippers. Mavs have the game on them. Portland has the game on Denver. Looks like the Lakers are going to lose, as Jackson just said. Bucks take the Heat in a close game, and then I think they're going to close up shop on the Celtics.
I think it should be pretty
Pretty
easy
quick.
to predict the first round. I think definitely
Yeah.
the Nets are going to beat the Celtics. I think definitely the Bucks
Yeah.
are going to beat the Heat. I would predict that the Knicks will beat the Hawks.
How many games are you going for each of these, though?
I think Nets will win in 4. I think that the Bucks will win in 5 or 6. I think that the Knicks and the Hawks is going to be close. I think the Knicks are going to take it in 6.
Okay.
I think that the Jazz versus the Grizzlies is not going to be that close. I think the Jazz might win in 4. I think that the Clippers
broom, it's
are going to
asleep.
go back and forth, win in 7. I think that the Nuggets are going to go back and forth with the Trailblazers. I think that Jokic is good. I don't think they have a good enough small forward or point guard on their team now that Jamal Murray's out. I think that the Trailblazers are going to win, maybe in 6, maybe in 7, and then I think also another long series. It's tough to call whether the Lakers are going to lose or win. I don't know if you can bet against LeBron. I'll take LeBron. Win in 7.
I think they're still gonna win.
Yeah, I
Does
think it's
wrestling gonna
LeBron.
let LeBron get out in the first round, man?
I hope so.
I think it will go to 6 or 7 games though.
It should be a close one.
This Suns team's no joke.
Yeah.
They're not. So if I'm doing the quick rundown, I think I'm lined up with Jackson, but then again, I don't know if I was listening to you all that well. I probably was.
Don't worry.
Sorry, I was just in thinking my head was somewhere else. But I think we're playing smooth jazz on the Bears, putting them to sleep. I think the LA is going to clip the Mavs. I think I'm going Tendies over Nuggets, and the Sun's going to go down in LA. So I think those are my quick predictions.
How
Then
do you
again,
come
it
up
was-
with this stuff so fast?
How
I don't know.
does Portland convert to tendies?
well, because you're just beating the Nuggets, the Nuggies. So
You're roasting them?
yeah, you're
Tenders are better than
they're
Nuggets,
fried.
dude.
Burnt nugs?
Tendies over Nuggets.
I don't like
So-
burnt nugs, dude.
I think the Clippers are gonna lose.
I think they could easily lose.
They
I
could.
think that
They
the
could, actually.
Lakers could easily lose too.
Well, why don't you wait your turn for your predictions, Brits?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna go through it all again. I mean, these first round ones are pretty.
It's really just fun to go
Yeah.
around.
Like
Just-
I'll tell you the ones I'm like controversial on, like which is like just the Clippers. Really, I think they're gonna lose.
Well, let's actually wait and just have Flay go first then.
I don't.
Just-
We don't need
just
to run.
kidding.
We don't need to run
Just
down
kidding.
all of them, but I do
I'm
think
just
the
messing with
Knicks. I think the Knicks
Yeah, we
are
don't-
gonna
we don't
go
need to do
in
this.
7, which I think will be good for the Sixers because the Knicks will be a little extra tired. and I think that Miami still actually has a chance to beat the Bucks in
Wait.
7 or 6.
Do you think the Knicks are going 7?
I think the Knicks will go in 7. Yeah, I think the more games that the series plays, the better it is for the Knicks.
Just to give them like chemistry with their team and like just.
Well, no, just I think that just increases their chance because the Knicks.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that while the Atlanta's better on paper, that the Knicks can get hot, and I think we'll see tonight whether or not they're going to start, hot or not.
I actually think the Nuggets could lose in 4.
Oh, I don't know. I think that's
I honestly, dude. I mean, like Portland's all healthy, right? Like they have McCollum and
Dame,
and Dame,
of course.
yeah. Which Dame is always just a threat. He's even though he's still considered one of the top players in the NBA, he still somehow is like underrated. Weirdly, where like he just has the power to kind of just bring a whole game into himself and make a difference.
I don't know how you can underrate that guy when I think he has like top 12 like all-time leaders in 3 pointers. So I don't know how you can underestimate that guy. I think he could definitely take a few games. I think it's just you got the other MVP prospect on the West side going against him. I don't know. These are fun little kind of go, what's your any hot takes or any predictions, but let us know. I mean, if you guys want us to talk more about the rest of the NBA, then we can definitely talk more about it. But these are just early rounds, so obviously we'll break it down a little bit further once we get a little bit later into the playoffs. Once the Sixers are in that last block there, we'll have a ton to talk about. So
I mean, there's a potential that by the time the next pod drops, that the Sixers are already in the second round.
They're already there, or getting a lot closer. Maybe not there yet, but
I do just think it's interesting to point out that there's been 3 upsets in the West already. All 3 games have been upsets. I think that the Nuggets were supposed to win. I think the Clippers were supposed to win, and I think the Lakers were potentially supposed to win, and they all lost.
And hey,
I mean, is that game over now? The Lakers?
It's virtually over.
Talk about upsets. Golden State not being in it at all. I mean,
oh yeah, that was
a fun game to watch.
Talk about. I mean, man, that's rough. But
they're gonna be good next year.
It's another story. They'll be back in it. I mean, get everybody healthy again. But
once Clay's back.
Yeah, Clay's gonna come back and they're gonna be way better.
Yep. All right, boys, let's switch it up to, our team, our guys, the Philadelphia Eagles.
I hated when I heard this.
Say it ain't so. Zach Ertz, does he got to go? This has been the news ticker that's been scrolling across the screen the entire time. So not really technical difficulties. It works well, but we need a little bit more time. We are a low budget podcast, and by low budget, I mean no budget.
No budget.
So we do what we can in Microsoft PowerPoint, and if one of our friends comes over to the dark side and joins us and edits and produces, then maybe this is a little bit more. Calling out Joseph Kasprak, if you're listening right now, we would like you to join. We will credit you, but we will not pay you because we don't have the funds for it.
We'll definitely not
Ertz to be here. Does it hurt him? I think so. He's not participating in the voluntary off-season program, but that type of thing happens all the time. We saw Fletcher Cox do it when he was renegotiating his contract years ago. It happens until you get the contract sorted out. So I do believe it's hurting him to stay here. Can we get trade value out of him? We do get something back if we do cut him. So we get that $8.5 million that he makes on a yearly basis from that 5-year contract. So that gives us a little bit more spending room. But guys, what do we kind of do with Ertz? I mean, you see the picture. He's a Super Bowl winner. He's the type of guy who's always got a free beer here in Philadelphia. But does he stay in Philly the rest of his career?
I have an alternate take on this, I think. I honestly don't think at this point it would hurt us to re-sign him to a deal. I think he's still young. I think he's still productive. I think he could end up being like a Brent Selleck was on our Super Bowl run, where he's like a little older. He's sort of like a player coach. I don't think we should pay him $10 million a year, but I still think he's young enough and productive enough in like the right offense where he's not the only target and the defense is scheming specifically for him. I think he could have success, and I think he would be worth signing. We'd have a 2 tight end duo. It would be pretty badass, honestly.
Yeah, it's just I agree with you mostly. Honestly, I would not be like against signing him, for the right amount of money. Obviously, that comes into play.
Right.
But I just don't see us doing it. I don't see us going and signing him right now. I don't think the organization wants him. I think the relationship is just so bad right now between them and him and the organization that he's got to get let go.
Do you not think that Howie's like history of signing vets, like not in a good way, to like contracts that
Yeah.
he shouldn't sign them to? He's always
Yeah.
re-signing vets. That he shouldn't
Usually,
sign.
usually this is something he would do.
This is
He
a
would
go-to move.
he would just
Yeah.
sign him. But like I just
Sign a vet for
well
no reason.
he would have did this.
Just because of name only.
It would have got done already. You know what I'm saying?
I think he would sign him to like a 4-year, $40 million contract.
Yeah.
This was a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if exactly, so I think if his contract had ended after the Super Bowl year, this guy would be making billions. but I agree, Jackson. It depends on what we get. So if let's just break down possible options, right? So if you can't get a third or fourth rounder out of Zach Ertz at this point, I say we ride with him. If we can try to get good money for him, great. I think he's better on this team with the value he brings if you're then like say a 6th-round guy that you would potentially get if that's what really the teams out there are kind of bringing the market value down to. I want to ride with Zach Ertz. I want to like kind of refresh this relationship that we have with him, give him, the honorable kind of retirement that he eventually deserves. But I don't think they're going to do it. I think Howie says the flashy thing of like, we'll do right by him. But I just don't think it ends that way.
I think we've already done right by him.
I think that
from what we talked about before, right?
I think the question is honestly the perspective that I take the question from is a little differently. I think it's more of the question of do the Eagles need Zach Ertz?
I think we do.
No, I think that what we have in Dallas Goedert is going to give us the exact same thing that we're going to get with Zach Ertz, and I don't think that you're going to gain anything by splitting the two of them, especially in a year right now where it seems like we're going to really want to give our receiving core, a lot of volume.
I think that you're right, but I think that also Dallas Goedert may be good, but he's also very injury prone. He always is missing like 2 weeks with an ankle injury or something like that, or like 4 weeks with a hurt elbow. He's just very injury prone for short periods of time, and in that time period, we wouldn't have anybody to replace Dallas Goedert.
So
Exactly.
I definitely think they don't resign Zach Ertz. I think that there's a potential that they run with him in the beginning of the season, but that's also again like as we've talked about, and as I think him and his agent have come out saying that he's not gonna like be in any workouts, in the preseason, leading up to anything unless the contract dispute is resolved. But that aside, there's a potential that they try to work things out long enough to where they can get some value from him in a trade situation. But again, if you're not getting anything better than a 4th-round pick, then there's not really any incentive to do it.
If this was anybody else, like we wouldn't even be talking about this. Like it's just because it's Zach Ertz and like he's such a like core part of this team and the Super Bowl run. It's like I can't believe we've even let it get to this point. Like we should have either just cut him and let him go find a team like early on, or we should have just signed him early on. We should have gotten rid of this months and months ago.
To me, this reminds me of Brian Dawkins back in the day, where we should have just re-signed him and let him retire here. And
Goes to Denver, and
it just felt weird.
That's what I'm saying. We should have if we were going to sign him, we should have already did it. We should just did it right away.
We should have gotten rid of Jason Peters and money to sign Zach Ertz.
No, I think it's a good point. Like, let's think. So if you're coming out of the Super Bowl year, it's kind of like, all right, if you're going to honor somebody, like, why the hell are we paying Jeffrey over Zach Ertz to do that? I think Zach had a down year, and it became a question of, all right, should we keep him around? Should we pay him because he's not going to be doing anything anymore? And then I think Howie's kind of let this drag this out just because of the draft. Like, let's see if any, prospective trades come up because we have Zach Ertz, and can we use that as firepower to our advantage? But we're kind of past that now, too.
Yeah, well,
so
I'm
do
saying,
you guys think that Zach Ertz could be productive for a long time in his career? Because I think his play style leans towards he has like maybe 3 or 4 years of productivity left.
No, I think a lot of why he played bad last year was because of Carson.
Yeah, Carson. I think
I
Carson,
agree,
the contract being up in the air, that was a big pain in his side. So, Yeah, with Zach Ertz, I just feel like I think Jackson brought up the good point of if Dallas Goedert's out, what do you have? The answer is nothing. And Dallas is the blocker, blocking tight end on this team. We know Zach Ertz can't do it. So Goddard's going to be getting those plays. There's going to be a higher probability that he's going to get hurt. If he comes out, you have no tight end for Jalen at that point. So I think you have to have Ertz. I'm okay with Ertz being the second tight end too. Like I think he could be the contingency plan to Goddard, but I think there's just a high chance that Goddard's going to get hurt. And I think there's also the culture piece that Ertz brings in. He's a team player. Once you get him signed up, once you get him locked up under contract, he will play every single down as hard as he can for this team. No question in my mind. So I think there's just a lot of value that he brings back to this team, other than just the production.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the thing with Dallas Goedert, like the blocking that you're talking about, like that is huge because I think we are going to run the ball a lot more this year. So that's going to be a factor.
Sure.
So he is going to get more time than Ertz, even if he was on the team, for sure. Go ahead, Jackson.
Just a quick add-in. SportsInjuryPredictor.com has Zach Ertz at an 83% chance of injury for 2021.
Wait, Zach Ertz or?
I mean, Dallas Goedert.
Dallas Goedert, okay.
I will be honest. I've never heard of that website.
What's Zach Ertz?
It's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, what's
I
Zach
feel
Ertz?
like, will we use it more? I don't know.
I'll see.
And what does that mean? Does that mean
I
season-ending injury, or does it mean you're going to miss games?
One game, this could mean anything. Well, we'll look into it.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz has a 74% chance.
Okay, well,
maybe we should just move on from both.
Yeah, maybe we should just sign Rodgers again.
I feel like every single
Rodgers is good.
Every single NFL player has like a 50% chance of getting hurt.
Yeah.
Richard Rodgers is good. That's all I'm saying.
These guys probably don't want to look up their percentage for CTE and that stuff either. This stuff gets scary. I think let's compare against baseball. It's probably like 5% compared to the 50% average across football. So, all right. So Zach Ertz is the one-off, right? I think the rest of this team is buying in, and so with that, hey Siri, hey Sirianni, believe the hype, man. Believe the hype. We talked about this on episode 1 that wasn't posted, so the one that was kind of like a test pod for us. But what makes you trust the new coach? And I think it's just a guy coming in who's able to listen to the players and kind of hear them out, kind of basically be Doc, right? Just like go to you, have a casual conversation, but also have some uncomfortable conversations, say what your role is, don't, beat around the bush and say like, all right, you can do anything you want, be realistic with these guys. I think Sirianni could be that guy because I think we've been hearing it a lot from, and I wasn't all in on Sirianni from those initial press conferences, but you're hearing a lot come out from these different players. It's the new Andy Reid era. It's, this guy's he's having conversations. He's getting to know these guys on a personal level. So rock paper scissors shoot. He's competitive in every kind of way. But Sirianni, you're hearing it from the veterans, Kelsey, Graham. You're hearing it from Sanders. You're hearing it from Jalen. The newer guys, the younger guys. So I think I'm starting to buy in. I won't say I'm putting myself at a high percentage of 80%, just shooting off the hip.
What, 80% bought in?
In confidence in Sirianni right now, just because the players are saying it. I mean, when you got guys like Kelsey saying we can win this division, and it is, let's remember, like it's a crap division last year. A lot of upgrades, I get that.
Yeah.
But when you have Kelsey saying that, when you have Graham saying it, when the players are saying it, I believe it. And
especially from two veterans like that who have been around a long time and seen a lot of coaches.
They've seen a lot. So where's kind of your percentages? Where's your confidence lie in Sirianni right now?
I'm at like an 80% confidence level. I like the fact that he was so competitive and that he's willing to adapt his offense to the players that he has. And then the fact that the players are like responding to that and getting excited over it. It makes me excited. I don't know if that necessarily means that we're going to have a crazy good season, but I think overall, like long term, I think Sirianni is going to have a lot of success.
Yeah.
I think it was Jason Kelsey who really talked about Sirianni creating a culture, and that's a key word that I think is one that we remember from the 2017 season, is that this team had a real culture around it with the way that they approached all their games.
It's big in
both
football.
on and off the season. Yeah, it is.
It's a family. It's a brotherhood.
Which almost weirdly seemed to die off after the Super Bowl run. The culture sort of muddled out.
Yeah, dude, we got too
We
like
put a
complacent.
statue of our backup quarterback
Complacency
on our
was,
stadium,
I think,
and
the
everything
thing.
got a little awkward.
Yeah, it's a bold move by us, but okay.
Deserved move.
I mean, I don't know about if I'd put my confidence level at like as high as you guys. It's hard to.
What's keeping you away, Brits?
Well, it's just because he's a first-year head coach. I mean, he's like,
Yeah.
you know, he's never done like he's never been, you know, the guy calling the plays. He's got a lot of first time like he's gonna do a lot of things he's gonna do for the first time this year. So it's kind of like hard to be really high on the confidence level. But I am happy with what I'm hearing from him and the players from so far in the training camp. I'm happy.
He wasn't calling the plays in Indianapolis.
No, Frank Reich was.
He wasn't.
He was just designing them, helping design them.
Yeah,
He
it
was
was
part
just
of the schemes.
Just OC.
Yeah. Excellent.
What I will say though is we were, as a fan base, we were all pretty hyped for Chip Kelly when he signed up from college. At least Sirianni has some NFL experience on an NFL sideline.
No, he's gonna be a good he's a good coach. I just don't know if he'll be a great head coach.
And arguably, a huge part of the success of our 2017 season was Frank Reich. So it's reassuring to know that he's been learning from the best.
Yeah.
It's also, you're never going to have a team be successful if the players aren't buying into what the coach is saying. And that's the most important fundamental part, I think, of all this, is that with the players buying in, there is now the potential for this team to be able to go on and win the 7 games or the 9 games that people are predicting. This seems a little more realistic now.
No, I mean, I will say from what I've heard, like from the players recently, and you know what he's been saying to them, it makes me think we could win the division. Just like we really like, I don't know. It's just the last couple weeks.
Sounds like you're buying in bigger than all of us, Brits.
Well, no, I'm not saying like I'm saying I went from a 0% chance of winning the division to I think there is a chance now. Like there is some kind of chance. You know what I mean?
If you had to put a number,
I'll take that. I'll take that.
What, of us winning the division?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe like a 10% chance.
Yeah,
that's pretty low.
That's pretty low.
Yeah, but at first that was a 0.
So it's made minimal improvements in your.
Yeah. But at least I believe a little bit now. I'm believing the hype, like Caputi said.
You'll buy in after a win too.
You can trust it. Yeah, I really like the buy-in, right? Because we've seen this where the players don't typically do this, where they come out and talk about the coach and come out and talk about how excited they are for this team this season. Like sometimes when they don't really believe it, but like we haven't seen it in the Chip Kelly era. Like your reputation comes out is basically what I'm trying to say. You know, over the course of time, it's one thing to sell yourself, you know, one time in an interview or one time in a press conference, but eventually people see you for who you are, and the fact that the players are seeing Nick Sirianni for who he is as this really excited receiver coach type guy, but also can kind of handle the full operation maybe eventually. Yeah, we got to remember, it is like I get jazzed up about this stuff. Like I get super energized. It's Eagles, you know, next season, like new era, new team. But we do got to remember, first time, you know, a lot of these guys, not just Sirianni, are doing these roles, you know, performing in these jobs.
The whole staff, the whole coaching
staff is brand new. They're young.
Yeah.
They're new to this. There's a lot to learn. But with that said, I think if it's coming down to a game in the trenches and you need your guys to really believe in the coach and believe in each other, I think you got the right head coach in that position to push them there when it comes to that.
Do you think a good comparison would be Sean McVay with like the offensive mind, the energeticness, the relationships with the players?
Well, I don't think we can give him that yet, just because we haven't seen him coach a game yet.
McVay came from a sort of similar situation as
but McVay is amazing. Like he's really, so
yeah.
I don't know if Sirianni will be yet.
I think you can compare him in like the fact that like he came from.
That's his upside, I think, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, he came from a similar position and he has a similar mindset, but McVay has he's very creative. Like, if I think he'll get creative. I think Sirianni will get creative. And hopefully it works though. Just gotta work.
Yeah, I think these are all just good signs, which is great. We got to see how it pans out, what it actually means results wise, but it's looking good.
The good thing is we went from literally bottom of the barrel on Sirianni. How do we hire this guy? This guy's a clown too.
And I was right there with
Way
you.
up.
Yeah, I was
way
right there.
higher than we were when he first got hired. So I'm happy about that.
Are you guys starting to come around to the rock paper
I'm
scissors
coming.
shoot?
I don't know if I'll go that far. I
It
don't know
seems
if I'll
like
go
all
that
of
far.
Philly is like really turning their like
We're turning the tide.
they're changing their mind on this guy, which is good.
Because you know why? Because I think if you have, like, I value players coming out and saying these things more than having a good press conference.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't matter as much to me as
Yeah.
these guys actually believing in what this guy's trying to do.
Arguably, though, in the same vein, I don't think we've had a coach that has had good press conferences in a very long time.
I don't think in any Eagles history.
The media
be
hated Doug
honest.
and they hated Chip Kelly.
They hated Chip. They hated
Doug's
Andy.
midday
Andy didn't
press
give them anything
conferences last
special.
year were terrible.
Doug-
They were so
Doug
funny
was-
to listen to.
Doug was good until last year. He just like once he
Well,
had a
you-
losing season, he didn't know what to
it's-
say, dude.
You just like the conferences don't represent who they really are. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
Chip Kelly because he was just a complete, asshole. But but Andy Reid, actually a really good guy. I think if you got to know him, like Doug Peterson, I'm
Everybody
sure would
loves
be a
Big Red.
great person to get a beer with. Like all these different things, and Sirianni, I'm sure the same thing. So
Great
it
guy
doesn't
to trust
represent
too.
who you are. But yeah,
How about just completely off topic? How about Chip Kelly was like, we only need to know 12 plays and we'll just run those 12 plays good.
and
That
we'll
makes
be
no
good.
freaking sense.
And then it's
Sounds
like,
like-
okay,
A very predictable offense.
Yeah, then the other defense is like, we
That's
only
just
need to
what
know
it
how to
became.
guard 12 plays. We'll just guard them good.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was like, yeah.
yeah, because there's only one play that could be this formation, so
Yeah.
we know exactly what they're doing. And all right, so Eagles are done. That's it. But yeah, I mean, this is where we're at on Sirianni. You got a lot of good things. Flay, I think you said that Jalen Hurts had a good comparison to another coach. Care to elaborate on that one?
Yeah, I think just the other day, Jalen Hurts was talking about how he felt that Sirianni was preaching the very same qualities that Saban preaches at Alabama. Things like accountability.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's just it's a good comparison. Maybe Jalen's just trying to
Not a bad
get
one.
a little brown nose.
Not a bad one at
On
all.
that starting quarterback position. But realistically, no, I think it's good. If everything that Jalen's saying is true, then these are things that I think the veterans can respect coming out of the guy, and that the rookies will be able to look up to and form good habits off of.
Yeah.
I agree with. I mean, I hope Jalen's right, and it is a good sign that he is comparing him to him. But now we've now compared Nick
We've went
Sirianni
from
to
0 to 100.
No, we've now compared Nick Sirianni, who has not coached an NFL game yet, like a head coach, to Nick Saban and Sean McVay.
Well, I was
most-
also thinking he could
like
be like
winning-
Bill Belichick.
winning this
and
college
Andy
test.
Reid.
And Andy Reid.
And Andy Reid.
He could be Bill Belichick.
Yeah, so we're just giving this guy the highest of
He
high
might-
praises.
Long story short, yeah, this guy's winning the Super Bowl next year. 17-0, 17-0, go Birds, baby.
He's like the
Okay.
Popovich of,
Go
of
Birds, baby.
football.
Lombardi incarnated.
All right. Well, that's all fun and
Go Sirianni.
and good until we go 0-5, like we predicted.
Yeah,
in some of our predictions.
not changed my mind on those first 6 games.
Not changing your minds. Okay, we're gonna do a segment. It's called Launch or Land.
Oh wow.
So this is
Okay.
basically buy or sell, and basically the same topic. Do we buy or sell on Sirianni right now? I think that the quick thing is just, Flay, did we actually decide what launch or land means? I think we just kept
Yeah.
confusing ourselves.
No,
which one,
I think
which one
launch
was
means
buy?
launch them out into space. Land means you're keeping
Launch,
them with you. You're
launch
landed on
means
Earth.
sell, right? Launch means sell.
That's what Caputi thought. I figured launch was like
Land
we
is
gotta-
buy. Hold
we
on
gotta-
to it.
We gotta
Yeah.
blast this idea to the moon, and I thought land was
Yeah,
gonna
I-
bring this idea back to Earth.
I
Are we
immediately
We're really against each other on
No,
this?
launch them out of Philly, land them in
Yeah,
Philly.
launch them out. Sell it.
Listen,
Sell.
I
Quick
immediately
sell on the
thought-
market.
my immediate thoughts were launch was keep him. Like
I think you
really,
put it in
like,
the
launch-
wrong order. It
launch
I don't
should
know
be
why.
land or launch.
It just sounds
Launch
cooler.
is keep
I
yeah,
always
should be
thought
land or
was
launch.
the thumbs up, yeah. Because
but what you're saying makes more sense, Caputi.
it
but
makes sense either way.
I think it's launch. Get rid of them, but we're keeping them.
dude, we have liftoff. That means we're good. That's a
Yeah,
good thing.
dude, we're gonna have liftoff on that idea.
Yeah, but land is good too.
That idea
I don't
is
know,
right,
bad
man.
things.
bro.
unless it's a crash
You
landing.
definitely want to land. Like
I'm
at
not
some
launching.
point.
It is supposed
Unless
to be a
it's a crash
crash
landing.
landing. You just chose to take a picture of a smooth landing.
You
True.
could have been a crash landing. It just, well, I don't know.
All right, so
But crash landings could be good. You get answers, from the mistakes. You see it with I was going to say Tesla rockets, SpaceX program. They're
Okay.
learning something new every day.
so
Well,
so
Too off topic.
buy or
To answer
sell.
your question, I'm launching. Nope, I'm not gonna launch him into space. I'm landing with him in Philadelphia.
I'm
Yeah,
landing Sirianni in
I'm
Philadelphia.
also.
If
I'm
that's what we're doing, then yeah, I'll land them in Philly.
I am buying
Keep
whatever
it
that means. I'm buying.
I'll take the buy.
Let everyone know
Um,
that I explained to Caputi very easily what I thought this was going to be, and he just totally didn't listen to anything I said.
I just thought it would make good content to brainstorm with the team mid podcast as we're recording. So
Well, maybe if they showed up to the pre-pod sessions, we could.
Listen, I always.
I
I
So
won't
all-
launch this
all of them were,
idea. I'll land with
content.
it.
I'm gonna
Okay.
land the idea of you showing up.
I'm gonna launch that idea. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. All right, I'll let you guys come up with one. Don't let me do all the talking. You got to launch your land for this segment.
Yeah,
Let
I
me
g-
see.
I think I got
You got
one.
one. You got one. Go.
Yeah.
Briscoe.
This is down the line a little farther, but this is something I've been thinking about a lot. Launch or land on Miles Sanders. Do we sign him after his contract's up?
Good question.
Because
I
signing
think-
running backs is a hard thing to do.
Good question, considering we just talked last week about the 1,000 yards and injury
Yeah.
prone. Jackson, you got something on your mind? If not,
So this is literally buy or sell.
I
Do
think
we-
currently, with
This
the way
is
that
the
the
most
running
buy or
backs
sell.
go, it depends on our cap space at that time. If we have a lot, maybe
it
we'll
looks
land
like
with him. But if not, I think maybe launch him.
it looks like we should have enough. Like,
I
with
think.
what
I
Yeah.
think we launch him,
you think we launch him?
especially if he gets hurt this year. I think he's launched.
I
So
think you can only land with a running back if they're a true bell cow who's gonna, always be on the field.
It's so tough, but I think you're right. But I mean, if he has a good year this year, it's gonna be really hard to get rid of him.
I mean,
Really?
you got to think. Even the Panthers are thinking about launching McCaffrey.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so
it's
nuts.
so sad. It's so
yeah.
sad.
So why don't we launch Sanders and scoop him up?
Scoop McCaffrey.
It's gonna be even bigger contract than Sanders.
Oh
But
yeah,
he's better
he's
than
going to be
Sanders.
big money.
He's much better than Sanders.
So,
I mean, true, but
Brits, really good LOL. I think we're kind of flying this season. We're flying in the air right now, and I think it's going to be a crash. It's either going to be a crash landing. I just don't think we sign him. Yeah, I think we launch him just because of the injury proneness. We talk about this literally all the
Well,
time.
We're
Running
gonna
backs just
scrap-
don't
we're
make it in the
scrapping this for
NFL.
next pod.
how about this? Wait, what'd you say?
I said we're scrapping the launcher land.
No, are you kidding me? We got to keep the LOL.
I like it. But are you guys saying that you okay? Let's maybe rephrase this. What would you
Sure.
do? Would you sign him, or do you think that? Are you just saying that you think the Eagles aren't gonna sign him? Like what? Like what would
I
you
think-
personally do?
I would
If
think
he's hurt
both
this
one and
year,
the same.
I'm not resigning him. Yeah.
I think
Really?
I
Okay.
think it depends. It's so tough, dude, because you have the first round pick next year. He's an injury prone guy, so you can easily get another running back that's going to be your next 3 to 4 year guy. But maybe it's so hard to trust the injury thing. That's the only thing I'm iffy about. Otherwise, this guy's
I mean,
a
how many-
consistent 1,200 yard to 1,400 yard runner. I think he definitely can be that. But I think we see how it plays out this year. If we can get him at a decent price too, that's kind of what I'm looking at, to be honest.
What was the last big running back signing? Like, I mean, Zeke.
Possibly.
Like,
What about? I've got a launcher land for you guys. How about Fletcher Cox when his contract is done after 2022?
Who
Launch.
was another good
Oh.
one?
If launch is getting him out of here, then yeah.
You're launching?
I think we launch him.
Yeah, I think.
I
we're
think we
launching
launch him.
He's a
him. He'll be
centerpiece of our
He'll
defense.
be what 34 at that point.
He'll be
Uh,
not 34. I think he's 29 now.
No, he's
I
younger
thought
than you think.
He's
Yeah,
29
I
now.
think he's 30.
Let me check it out.
We can do a
I'm
quick
pretty.
check.
He's
But
he's
still,
younger than you
so,
think.
so 32.
He's
I
30.
mean, that puts him
That's
at
old for a defensive tackle.
that puts him at where Kerrigan is now. We're
And
only
he's
signing
30 right now,
Kerrigan
yeah.
To be like a replacement guy.
Wait, so his contract runs up is it over after this year?
I believe
over after.
It was a 6-year contract, 103. So you made out well in the contract when they signed it. That was gotta find where that was. If somebody
They
else
signed
could
it in
look it up, that would be
2016.
great. 2016. So
so
that
goes to 2022.
that puts us at about the end mark. I think here's the thing: it can't be another $103 million contract.
No.
So
It's going to be a 1 year, if anything.
So that's kind of the deal breaker for me is what does that number look like if it's I would love to take Cox for another 3 years. I think because he can he has that production.
Yeah,
But-
I'm launching that idea.
I'm
Oh
launching
my
Here's
God.
when he's 32. No, thank
No.
you.
Yeah, I don't man.
I think it's just interesting to note that maybe the Fletcher Cox era could be coming to an end.
Yeah, I think we're close to that point, which is sad because he is just such a big staple for the defense.
We're gonna have a huge defensive rebuild coming up. Are you
Yeah.
guys launching or landing Greg Ward?
I think he's just a guy that kind of just sticks around at low dollar, and he can just kind of he can end up on the
Yeah.
practice squad one year, and he could just kind of be fourth string the next year. So I don't think that's like a big launcher land in my mind. I think you land him, you just hold on to him.
There's no reason to get rid of him, but you're not
no
going
reason to get rid of him
You're not going to see him play significant snaps.
unless you had a solid fourth guy there where you're never putting in Greg Ward again. I think you can kind of let him go, be successful somewhere else as a third string or third or fourth receiver. So
I don't think he ever really makes another splash like he did on our team.
yeah, I just don't think he does. So
I'm probably I'll hope for this season. He might be able to squeak out into the number 3 role behind
I think-
Rieger.
I think that the fact that he had so much success with Wentz, despite Wentz playing so bad and everybody else taking a huge hit from Wentz, he could be good with like good QB play.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think so. I think he could be your next Jason Avant, which I loved him as just a possession guy. Just like, short crossing routes across the field, make sure you catch it every time. And if he becomes all reliable, then I don't mind that. You need those guys every now and again. So
I feel like our Edelman.
yeah. No, I mean, well, if he was anything like Edelman, yes, I will land that all
Yeah.
day. Okay, Fly, you got any LOLs for us?
No LOLs today. I think I came up with the initial LOL. So
Okay. Okay, fair enough. So you're really turning it back on me to come up with something.
no, you don't have to go with the LOL.
Well,
We gotta
I
say some
don't think I will. We gotta, yeah. We can't give you all our good stuff in one session. So, all right. So here we go, boys. Let's close it up. Let's close up shop with some trade talk. You got A-Rod,
I just saw
Watson,
Jackson's face.
and Julio. We know Jackson's shaking his head on Watson. We know
Obviously.
I'm shaking my head on Watson. That's a big no-no for me on
Join that club.
so many levels.
Shake my head on Watson.
Brits is the controversial.
No, I don't want Watson. If all that
okay,
shit's true, dude, I don't want that guy.
No, of course not. Of course not. But we can get into Julio too and a little bit of Rodgers because I think the question is if you know that there's a guy out there who could get you a Super Bowl if all the other boxes are checked, do you give up potentially three first-round picks to get that guy if you can guarantee getting you to the playoffs for the next 3 to 4 years? I'm like a big no-no on honestly. I think all of these guys. Maybe not as much Julio, but I would have to look at what you're giving up to get him. I think a different team's going to get him anyway. I just don't think we're going to be able to land that. But I'm a big no across the board on Watson. I think the truth, again, we talked about reputation. I think when you're hearing it from so many people, there's got to be some truth in the accusation type stuff. I won't get into the politics of that, but I don't trust it at all. I don't like it. I think.
I mean, you can't be accused of sexually assaulting 25 women and
not be true.
Exactly.
It's just like
a part of that story
something
is true.
has to add up.
Just
when
depends
you
how
have
much.
Why was
that
he
many
getting
people.
massages from Instagram girls?
Like, why is he doing that? And
There's team massage people.
and
There's team
we talk about culture. Like, don't even bring any negative thing that
Not
can
right
ruin
now.
what we have going on right
It's
now.
not anything you want a team to be dealing with.
Not
No.
right now.
especially
so-
now.
So
Also, I think
now.
currently the way our team is, we're like in rebuild mode. So the only person that would make sense would be Watson, but he's an absolute scumbag. He doesn't deserve
Yeah.
to play in the league. So
Yeah.
why would we want him? Julio Jones
right.
and Aaron Rodgers, they're older, and so like I think when our team's going to be having success, they're going to be maybe on their way out of the team. They're not going to be as
Right.
as like impactful on the field.
So
So I wouldn't do either of these.
the only thing, like you said, I mean, the only one that makes sense here is Watson minus the everything that comes with him.
Yep.
But I mean, definitely not Rodgers. Unfortunately, like as much as I love Aaron Rodgers, I think he's amazing. Definitely can't get him. He's too old for our team right now. And then Julio, I would think about, but he's just going to cost way too much. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
you
we
know he's
we
looking
have-
for at least a 3-year deal or something like that. Like,
His last big deal in the NFL. This is what he's trying to get at this point. So
well, no, actually, no, he's still on his deal.
well, he's
right?
still on his deal. It would be
Yeah.
a trade. It would be a trade.
Yeah, so sorry.
But I agree with you guys from like a player like technical standpoint. Watson's the only guy that makes sense because he's young and he could play for that long period of time.
I did.
Rodgers could still put in like 4 years. I think like good.
He
4
could pull up Brady and play for 10 more
Yeah.
years.
Definitely.
It's
Definitely.
true, but
I mean, it happens. Brady gets his in Tampa. You got Manning getting his in Denver. Even though that year he won it, it wasn't exactly his play that got him the win. But he played, record-breaking years in Denver. I can't think of any, off the
I'll
top
say
of my
this.
head. But
I'm not in on Rodgers or Julio, but I would be in on Rodgers and Julio.
whoa.
I
Bring
Just
up
would,
old head.
Julio.
I would just keep us from going too far into that rabbit hole and just say that.
but this is
Neither-
interesting. I know it's
neither
kind
of
of
these
Jackson
guys-
just
no,
throwing
neither of these
stuff
guys
out there,
are
but
what we're looking for. If we're making a trade right now, we're gonna go cornerback or safety or something on the defensive side. None of these are good for me.
think about it. Go ahead, Brits, and then I'll follow up.
The reason why I brought up Julio as a maybe in the first place was just, I mean, if you get Julio on this team and like we did have enough like money to pay him, dude,
Oh my God.
we could have one, our offense would be insanely good. Two, you have Jalen Reagor and Devontae Smith now learning with Julio Jones, who is literally one of the greatest receivers of all time. So I mean, I think that automatically helps your offense on a bunch of different levels. It just would have to be like the right amount. Like I don't know if we could pay him.
Yeah, it's a matter of the paycheck or what you give up
What if
for
you
him.
can do it? Fucking do it.
I mean, but I mean, think how jacked up you would be if you came here. Yes, that's one thing. So Jackson, are you kind of? I don't know if you're saying you're like making a joke out of the Julio and
I
Rodgers
just thought
thing.
if we had Julio
but-
and Rodgers, we'd have obviously like the best offense in the
I
league.
mean,
Our defense would still be horrible, so it'd probably be a situation similar to Green Bay right now.
Green Bay where they get there but they can't finish.
Yeah, but
So-
I think cap space wise, it's literally impossible, right?
Yeah.
I don't
not
know
chance
how.
that
I don't know
happens.
how you'd definitely be cutting Zach Ertz
We're
for a
still-
starter.
I
We're
think we only have
still-
like $4 million like to spend.
Yeah.
Maybe,
We're
if
still
that.
we're still eating Carson's $30 million right now or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
So is it probably going to happen? Or are we talking about nothing, sweet nothing? Probably. But so let me pose this for you. So you would take Rodgers, Julio versus current team 3 first-round picks?
No, not at all.
I don't know. Yeah, that's tough. That's
No.
tough. Maybe though. Honestly, probably yeah.
If we have the defense, for sure.
if we could pay
and
them,
the cap space. Cap space
I
and
think
defense,
if we had Rodgers and Julio, a lot of free agents would want to come to our team.
then we'd probably
You
be
just couldn't pay
wait,
him.
if we
having
could,
a lot of
are you saying
conversation.
like minus the fact of like not being able to pay him, like would you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would 100%
Yeah.
do that. 3 first-round picks for Rodgers and Julio Jones, 100%.
Yeah, I think it's easy.
Yeah, I think that's an easy.
Except that's not that. Those 3 picks alone don't get you those 2 guys. So
Well, yeah, but you gotta pay him.
Yeah.
So I mean, no,
I don't know.
actually, yeah, it might.
Maybe hot take, but I don't trust the Rodgers Jeopardy thing. I don't think he'll get the job, but I don't. I think he wants to do something celebrity like for some reason, and I don't know. I don't know. That's not like the biggest concern. I realize, but
You'd be surprised that
I think people would do that more often.
This is going back to what Slay was just saying, but like, you'd be surprised what like NFL players go for in trades in terms of like draft picks. Like Julio Jones
Yeah.
might end up going to a team for like a second,
For
or
a
third.
third,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like you'd be surprised. I think if we offered a first round
yeah.
pick for him, we'd win that. Like they'd just be like, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You know?
Which, yeah, I don't know. All right, boys. That's a lot of what we got today for the pod. We're gonna try to release at 9 because that's the text that's been on every one of these slides. So that's kind of the deadline, I guess, we're setting for Brits. He's been our editor and
Wait,
producer.
you want this out tonight?
No, by
Every
Tuesday at
9
9.
p.m.
Oh, okay.
Read
We
the
gotta
text,
get some
Brits.
consistent
Okay.
things. So a couple things, right? Comments. Let us know how you feel on the Sixers reactionary pod today. A lot of good stuff coming out on that. Tell us what you think on the rest of the NBA, the series, what you guys want to see. Anything Eagles? Like I said, you can notice at this point we're not really talking about Phillies Flyer stuff. So insert Flyer statement here. We'll release on Tuesday, but we'll close up shop there. Boys,
And
anything
we
you
want
want
to see your Sixers
wanna
player
leave the
grades in
fans
the
with?
bottom.
Yeah,
Give us your
follow the-
grades. Give us
follow
your
the
grades.
Instagram, follow the Twitter, follow the YouTube. Click the bell. Subscribe to our.
Hit all the follow buttons.
Ring that bell, baby.
All the follow
Every
buttons.
single follow across the board. Remember that ice cream and pasta are the opposite of soup, and it takes 3 eggs to make an omelet.
Ring
So
that bell
with that,
like you were at the center of Wells Fargo, baby.
this pod launched and landed.
Landed.
See you later.
See you next week. Bye bye.